With training camp roughly a month away, it's becoming abundantly clear how the Miami Heat is going to emerge as a potential unlikely contender this season in the Eastern Conference. If that does happen this year, it will likely come with the development of Nikola Jovic and Pelle Larsson. At least that's what the team is hoping. According to the Miami Herald, one of the Heat's big hopes for this upcoming season is that both Jovic and Larsson emerge as much better players for Miami after their experience in the Eurobasket tournament. The Heat is hoping this year's Eurobasket experience will help Jovic and Larsson return as better versions of themselves this upcoming season, with the start of NBA training camps only 5 weeks away. Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. This isn't groundbreaking by any means, that the Heat is hoping that their young players continue to make strides in their game, but I don't think we all realize just how important they are to this specific Heat team. Why Jovic and Larsson could be huge keys for the Heat. Because of how the Heat operated this summer, it's almost as if they're expecting the likes of Larsson and Jovic to make big leaps in their development. That became even clearer after they decided to trade Haywood-Highsmith a couple of weeks ago. The trade of Highsmith opens the door for Larsson to play a bigger role this season. For Jovic, well, the Heat's confidence in him is pretty evident, considering Miami didn't sign any big man this summer to back up Bam Adebayo and Kelly Oubre. That probably means that there's a good chance Jovic starts at the 4 next to Bam, and that Oubre is going to get the call as the primary backup big off the bench. But despite the Heat's hopes, none of that will work this season if Larsson and Jovic aren't ready for bigger roles. If they do make a jump in their development that no one outside of the Heat's offices believes will happen, it will completely change the outlook for Miami this season. It's easy to overlook the Heat because of the lack of headlining moves they made this offseason, but there's a path toward them emerging as somewhat of a surprise dark horse in the Eastern Conference. And in many ways, that onus does fall on the shoulders of their young players, taking a big jump, specifically Jovic and Larsson. Beginning on October 1st, Tyler Herro is eligible to sign a 3-year extension that can be worth as much as $150 million. With the Miami Heat continuing to prioritize cap flexibility and the acquisition of another superstar, very few people expect them to pay him. But there's a $125 million middle ground that could change everything. Players can still be traded after getting extensions if they sign for 120% or less of their final year's salary, and so long as their annual raises are limited to 5%. For the Heat and Herro, he could put pen to paper on a 3-year, $124.7 million extension and still be traded. Traveling down this path serves 2 purposes. It keeps all of Miami's options open and gets Herro paid. The Heat should see if Tyler Herro would accept this. None of this means a darn thing unless Herro's on board. He may want the full $150 million and might also not want to sign an extension that still puts him at risk of being traded. Financially speaking, though, a 3-year, $124.7 million offer is far from insulting. Here's how it would break down each year. 2027 to 28, $39.6 million, 22.37% of the cap. 2028 to 29, $41.6 million, 21.95% of the cap. 2029 to 30, $43.6 million, 21.49% of the cap. Herro may want more. He's eligible for more. And he can get way more if he just plays out his contract and hits free agency in 2027. But that's a huge risk on his part. Never mind the current free agency landscape. Pure shooting guards who aren't quite floor generals and not big enough to defend wings seem to be falling out of style. Look at how Quentin Grimes and Cam Thomas are being viewed by the market and their own teams. And look at how little leverage Jalen Green had in extension talks with the Houston Rockets last summer. To be sure, Herro is better than all of these players. He's an all-star. He's not an all-NBA player, at least not yet. Signing an extension that puts him on track to be the league's 39th highest-paid player when it takes effect may not be what he wants, but it's not necessarily a discounted rate, either. Don't sweat the Heat giving up cap space. So much about Herro's extension eligibility is viewed through the lens of Miami's projected 2027 cap space. The All-Star guard comes off the books that summer, at which time the Heat could have over $90 million in spending. That's all well and great, But superstars aren't changing teams via free agency anymore. Maintaining trade options is more important. Herro becomes immovable for 6 months if he signs his max extension. That takes the Heat past the February 5th trade deadline. And while they no longer have to plan around a certain two-time MVP's mid-season availability, removing Herro from the table of prospective blockbuster talks doesn't make much sense. Enter the workaround. A 3-year, $125 million extension keeps every possible mid-season scenario intact. It costs 2027 cap space, but Herro should be easily movable at his new number. This is one of those deals that might even increase his trade value to other teams. Plus, because an extension won't kick in until 2027 to 28, Miami would maintain its path to carving $30 plus million of spending power next summer, with Herro still on the books. Again, whether the 25-year-old is willing to sign a 3-year, $125 million extension remains to be seen. But it behooves the Heat to find out. It's been a successful offseason for the Miami Heat. Pat Riley pulled an expert-level pivot after missing out on Kevin Durant. However, if another superstar becomes available during the season, we should expect Miami to be at the forefront of interested parties. For that reason, Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley recently shared a trade idea that would land Giannis Antetokounmpo in Miami. The trade proposal looks like this. Heat get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Milwaukee Bucks get Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jamie Jaquez Jr., Terry Rozier, a 2030 first-round pick, a 2032 first-round pick, and a 2031 first-round pick swap. After keeping Ware out of the Kevin Durant trade talks, the Heat would clearly need a superstar to let their second-year center go, Buckley wrote. Since they also have a clear and long-standing fascination with Antetokounmpo, which, to be fair, most teams do, it might take a mega-trade with Milwaukee to get Ware out of Miami. Add the draft picks here, and that feels like enough for the Heat to at least entertain dreams of adding Antetokounmpo, whose resume features a couple of MVP awards, a Defensive Player of the Year honor, and a Finals MVP. Giannis has reportedly been disgruntled with the Milwaukee Bucks in recent years. He has suffered 3 straight first-round exits from the playoffs. Moving to Miami could be enticing, as the Heat would do everything in their power to construct a contending roster around him. Heat refused to trade Nikola Jovic for Durant. According to Heat insider Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, the Heat were unwilling to include Nikola Jovic in a trade package for Durant. As such, the Houston Rockets ultimately beat Riley to the punch, bringing the superstar forward to Texas. Per source with direct knowledge, he was willing to offer Wiggins, Rozier, Highsmith, Jaquez, and 20th pick in June's draft for Durant and Cody Martin, Jackson reported via X. Per Shams, Suns wanted Jaquez, Jovic, Highsmith, 20th pick and a pick swap, as well as Wiggins/Rozier inclusion. So, Jovic and Kaspar's J need to work out for justify the decision, which was a difficult one for Heat to reach. Jovic is currently suiting up for the Serbian national team at the FIBA Eurobasket tournament. Miami is clearly high on his skill set and what he brings to the table. Heat likely to stand pat. While adding Giannis would be amazing for Miami, it's highly unlikely. He is expected to remain in Milwaukee moving forward. Therefore, Riley is most likely going to stand pat heading into the new season. Furthermore, he may avoid any major in-season trades. The Heat will likely have some cap space next summer. By waiting now, Miami could be a legitimate player in the free agency market in 12 months' time. Given the lack of assets the Heat have to play with, patience is certainly a virtue. It's also worth noting that Norman Powell will become an unrestricted free agent next summer. As such, he could leave the franchise once the 2025-26 season comes to an end. Miami is set up to have flexibility next year. By biding their time, they could quickly retool the roster ahead of the 2026-27 campaign.